the crucial issue in actually studying what we study, which is the beginning or the intention of creation, in the processes that it offers, and the processes that are being offered to us, and what it suggests to the identity of what is to do with that which is real, and to the work that is called Yashar Ke'el, meaning direct or honest or constant honesty of grace. So we were talking about Tzimtzum Alef, the first, one can say, the first reaction that is being coerced or compelled, or that Malchut is being compelled to actually express. So something in that suggests that when she's expelling the light from her, and she's actually forming her will, meaning the self-expression of the relation and the attitude that is needed from the Createe to the Creator, it becomes for us and for everything that will follow a law. And it suggests that the condition of actually copulating, tying oneself, connecting oneself to the Creator, to God, is called what? Screen. And the screen is enabling Malchut to produce from the direct light a return light. So actually, the screen and the condition that is determining what is the vessel that can be in connection with the higher suggests as well our definition of light. It means that Malchut is with that which is inherent in her now, by the impression that Keter had left in her. So it is, one can say, the law of quality or of virtue. It's not yet, there is no choice there, but there is a set or a condition by which we will be able to actually determine who we are, what is the self, what is the vessel that we can call self or expression, that has to do with rising up to the connection with the light, okay, determines that light and vessels are actually something that cannot live one without the other. If there is no vessel, there is no light. If there is no connection to the light, there is no vessel. So the whole of Kabbalah and the whole of what the language that we speaks about vessel and light as relating to each other and actually defining each other. So from that you can understand that light is not definition of itself. It's a definition of the relation of the vessel to that entity, which is the thought of creation. And that is the law that Malchut is Malchut as the source and origin of all living creatures, all vessels of consciousness, will be able to define, feel, and identify the higher, or the Creator, or God, depends where she is stating herself or where she is locating, depending on the space. So even in the vacant space is a definition of Malchut, what is not able to be present in her, which is what we call the light or the illumination of Chokhmah, of wisdom. But what is there is the knowledge that there is no presence, because if she will allow or use that vessel, which is to receive to oneself, she will return to tohu, to chaos, one can say. So we can say that the establishment of the relation and the speech and the ability of to relate, to listen, and to respond to the higher is being set by Tzimtzum Alef, and its screen, the return light that becomes the dress for the direct light, and therefore it can extend itself. Otherwise, the light will not be felt as extending or influence or impressing us. But this had to reach its limits by Malchut discovering that what is inherent in her as a virtue of wishing to define herself in relation to the Creator thought is not enough. It's a first step. One can say it's a statement of declaration, but it does not allow her the reality of actually having part of her real self, not the 9 sfirot or 9 crowns, which is the name of sfirot, above her, to interrelate with the Creator. But what about her nature? So when this is being expressed in the system as a huge frustration of Malchut, wishing, pining to be able to connect, not being able, but the wish to actually adhere to the presence and nearness in spirituality is expressed only in one form. Nearness is actually sameness of quality, not sameness in essence, sameness in qualities, in what is called forms. Because what causes separation is the disparity of forms, meaning of intention and qualities. So how to use oneself in a way that can fulfill this edict that I felt from Keter, but whatever I did or whatever we did with our powers or with our will is not enough. There need to be a different connection, or to tie ourselves differently from one can say from a different state of affair or a different form, to tie oneself to the higher. So therefore, we find that Bina, after she refines herself, when she's feeling the light in the refinement process ascend from her, she can actually descend and extend herself to the lower part, to the end part of Malchut, and allow her to raise herself up allows Malchut to raise herself up to the point in which Malchut is able to the point that Malchut is able to elevate herself or to include herself in a way to surrender to the qualities of Bina is a matter of choice. So if we spoke first in Tzimtzum Alef about virtue or innate virtue, in Tzimtzum Bet there is what comes into the space or the state is the ability to choose. Yeah? The ability or freedom of choice to be included, even though when one can say when Bina is extending herself to the space of Malchut, which is the vacant space, kicks in another law. And the law is that when the higher is descending to the place of the lower, it becomes same. Meaning, as Malchut cannot have light in her, so Bina in that part, which is below tabur, below the navel, whenever Malchut is not completely in surrender to the qualities of Bina, what is left is basically the same, one can say, darkness that is similar to the darkness that is in Malchut. And then we can choose. Then we have a choice, and the choice is to actually prefer the perception that the higher actually dispelled its light because of us. And if we see the grander, and if we are in gratitude to this act and appreciation, and see the greatness in the higher of actually reducing itself in order to be with us, and this is actually the root of divinity in exile. But if we see that, we feel that, and we see its greatness, this in itself elevates us. So it means that you can say that the relevance of the Passover that we are going and to the new book that we are now opening, which is the book of Vayikra, and what we are actually preparing ourselves to tell, to be able to say, or to be able to tell the story of the Exodus of Egypt, is actually a test of those two states. The whole plagues, the whole 10 plagues are actually asking the question whether Israel is of virtue. Do they have, because we can see that the plague does not touch them. But when it finishes, when it's sort of run its course, and Pharaoh, which is the will to receive to ourselves as epitomized in the highest culture of the time, the highest, one can say, development of human consciousness of the time, and maybe there was never something higher than Egypt. We see that the question of Pharaoh are justified. Why actually? What the merit and the virtue that there is in Israel, a nation of slaves, that they merit to rule or to get free once from a place which is, slaving the slaves. This is this is the culture of the time, or this is the culture of all times, one can say. What actually do they have a different virtue or a different quality, those spirits, from the beginning? And all the 10 plagues are proof of their being a part as a preparation for being able to serve humanity through that consciousness, through that being a part. So the question of Pharaoh concerning that is, we will study it in a lesson, but I want to take you back. Our 2 questions. Through the whole plagues, it's a proof of the virtue, one can say, of what I spoke so far of Tzimtzum Alef. But do actually they merit choice? And this is why after Pharaoh is actually agreeing to the exodus from Egypt, meaning that what is actually going out of Egypt, like a birth of something, yeah, taken out from it, is not only that they are allowing their source of livelihood to go out, but what is being said is that this is the future of humanity. And it means that the future of humanity will not be in the hands of Egypt anymore. But then we see that Pharaoh sort of repent and return with another question. If it's a merit of virtue, do they actually fulfill the second condition, which is choice? And that is being tested on the banks of the Red Sea, or Yam Suf, which is, one can say, the sea of the end, which is Malchut itself. She's the end of each river, of each part or source of light that extend. She's the last sphera. So standing on the banks of the end is one need to choose whether to cross before it is obvious that something will part the water for them. And the moment they, through Nachshon, they do it, they merit a choice. So in all of it, there is the answer. So each one of us, we're going through or submitting to the study and to those processes, we'll have to go through those 2 states of identifying oneself, meaning calling the name by name, the imprint of their spirit as in service, and to choose to serve in such a way that it is able to change reality, not for them, but for the whole web of spirits. So this is one of the things that we need to remember from what we're actually studying and why we study the processes of extension and the build-up of creation, its inner space, arenas, processes, and invitation. So there is one more thing that is important to remember at this time, which is to do with the summoning of 2 things. Summoning of the time is coming to us through the way we meet reality, through the book or the place of revelation that we open, which is Vaikra. And in this, I would like to sort of open a parenthesis and to actually refer you or to remind you the definition is Baal Sulam, and then definitely Rav Kook is doing. What is actually the difference between each book of Torah, and what actually is the division between Bereshit, yeah, Genesis, Shmot, and Vaikra? Why actually they become three separated books? And if we understand the language of Kabbalah, which means that book, especially in Hebrew, is a place of revelation, we need to understand that each book opens actually with a different state of possibility of revelation of the higher to the vessels. There's a different revelation in Genesis. Definitely, we can see that through Bereshit we see a revelation to it's very personalized, to a unit of separate units of consciousness, which are the heroes. You can say that starts from first Adam as a system, and then through all the generations, and then definitely Noach, and then Avraham, Yitzchak, Yaakov, and then when it becomes a family and a nation, and actually the next revelation is still to one person, which is Moses, which opens up a revelation to a nation. And the first nation that has a revelation is Egypt, through the plagues. Only after that, after the preparation, then we will see a revelation to a prepared group of, or not so prepared, but a revelation which will be a preparation of a group or a unit of many spirits, 600,000, that will be actually the vessel, that the enabling vessel. So Vaikra is opening with a stance that there is a permanent presence inside our reality that is being kept or recognized by a web that is called at that time Israel, that is preparing itself to be dispersed all over in order to come back with planting, one can say, in the whole world, this message or this possibility. And therefore, Vaikra is opening with any state or any being that wished to call itself Adam, meaning wishing to be in simile in its qualities to the higher. How can it approach? How it can come near? So the whole issue of sacrifice is an issue of how to come closer. Not in the beginning, not because I've sinned, because I've chosen to. Then, if I fall, I have a way to come nearer through repentance, or which suggests that the remedy was of being with was prepared before the fall, before the one can say before the plague. And plague is to do with the opposition of being touched, or the wish to be touched. Okay. So this is sort of the basis on which one can understand a bit of what I'm saying concerning the time that we are in. And it suggests that if there is the condition of this relationship and tie between vessel and light, the duty of the vessel and what is being summoned in it is always to find out through questioning. This is how Zohar is opening. Ask for a letter, ask for a sign, meaning ask for a common language that you will be able to understand what is actually being asked from you. So in order to understand that, we need to ask for a sign, and a sign is a letter, and a letter is a vessel that has in it, embedded in it, the the impression of the need of the light, the need of the vessel, and the need of that which created it.